Have you ever stood before an opportunity only to retreat because you feared you weren't good enough? Have you ever stayed silent, holding back your true thoughts, afraid of being judged? Have you ever felt suffocated by your own life, always trying to stay in control until you burned out? Or perhaps you've walked through pain, and since then, your heart has never dared to open again. If you've ever experienced any of that, you are not alone. And more than that, you're facing the quietest enemy of modern life, fear. But perhaps no one ever taught you this. Fear is like a shadow. It grows only when you turn away, and it begins to shrink the moment you dare to look it in the eye. Today, join me on a journey both silent and profound, where Stoicism will be the torch that lights the way. And then, you will no longer ask, "How do I stop being afraid?" Instead, you'll begin to say, "I'm still afraid, but I move forward." Number 1, the fear of failure. What if I can't do it? Have you ever stood before an opportunity, something that could change your life, and quietly walked away, simply because you were afraid to fail? Maybe it was a job you once longed for, a confession of love you almost spoke, or a project you had nurtured for years. And then you whispered to yourself, "What if I can't do it?" In that very moment, the fear of failure won, not because it was stronger than you, but because you gave it power. An old friend of mine once dreamed of opening a small bookstore. He loved books so much that he could recite quotes from Marcus Aurelius and Seneca by heart. He spent 3 years preparing, reading everything he could about management, space design, and business strategy. But one day, he confided, "I'm scared that I'm not good enough, that people will laugh at me." And so, he never opened the bookstore. 3 years later, he was still working a bland office job. But he was safe inside a circle he built himself, the circle of the fear of failure. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. Failure in itself has no claws, no sword. It's just an outcome. But the things we whisper in our minds, 'I won't succeed,' 'People will mock me,' 'I'm not capable,' turn failure into a monster of imagination. Ironically, that monster only survives if we continue to feed it with fear." Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who once led hundreds of thousands of soldiers, wrote in the simplest terms, "If something is natural, don't be afraid of it. If something is inevitable, be prepared to face it." Failure is an inevitable part of any worthwhile journey. A Stoic doesn't seek to avoid failure. They train their mind to embrace it as a frank companion. Let's look at it logically. The one who dares to act and fails gains a lesson. The one who avoids action out of fear gains what? No experience, no lessons, no growth. Just a golden cage from which you watch life without ever truly living it. The truth is, you're not afraid of failure. You're so scared of others seeing you fail, and that is even more frightening. Stoicism has a method called negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario. When facing fear, a Stoic will ask, "If what I fear most truly happens, then what? Will I still be alive? Will I have a chance to fix it? What can I learn from it?" And when they answer these questions rationally, they realize failure is not the end. It's the beginning of growth. I once met a man in his 40s who worked at a media company. He had dreamed of opening his cafe since he was 30. He told me he had made plans, intended to take barista courses, but kept postponing. "I was afraid of losing money, afraid no one would come, afraid to disappoint my wife and kids." 10 years passed. The dream was still there, neither growing nor dying. He didn't fail because he opened a cafe. He failed because he never dared to begin, and he knew it. In his eyes, I saw a quiet sadness, not loud, but deep. Seneca once said, "A person who has never failed has never truly lived." And you can feel how hauntingly true that is. Stoics do not seek safety. They seek a life of virtue, reason, and meaning. If failure is unavoidable on that journey, they accept it, even feel gratitude, for it is part of mental discipline. So, if you're afraid of failure, pause. Ask yourself, if I try and fail, what do I lose? But if I don't try, what do I lose? That answer will shape the rest of your life. Don't let fear pull you down. Let reason lift you. Because, as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, what is by human nature should not be feared by humans. And action is the essence of life. Number 2, the fear of rejection. What if they don't accept me? There is a fear that doesn't take clear form, doesn't scream like failure, yet quietly embeds itself in every human decision. It is the fear of rejection. You might notice it when you sit silently in a meeting, knowing you have a good idea, but choose not to speak. You feel it in the moment you stand before someone you care about, wanting to say something sincere, but hold back. You once dreamed of applying for a position you deeply desired, but convinced yourself, they'd never pick me. Among all the things that cause hesitation, nothing is softer yet more frightening than this feeling. Epictetus once said, if someone disrespects you, remember, it doesn't harm you unless you let it enter your mind. We often confuse people's reactions with people's definitions of us. A rejection, a cold glance, an unanswered message. These are not verdicts on your worth. They are merely perspectives, shaped by someone else's past, their experiences, their lens of prejudice. I once knew a young woman who graduated with honors in journalism. She wrote beautifully, and many professors encouraged her to submit her work to major magazines. But every time she finished an email, she hesitated. What if they think it's bad? What if they laugh at me? In the end, she never sent it. And that article remained forever in the drafts folder. What she feared wasn't the rejection of the article. What she feared was being deemed not good enough. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, wrote like a man living among us, I cannot control what others think. All I can do is live rightly and let them think what they will. We instinctively long to be accepted. It's deeply human. But Stoicism teaches us, no one can give you worth by accepting you, nor can they take it away by rejecting you. You were born with dignity, and the practice of reason is how you keep that dignity unshaken by the glances, words, or opinions of the world. Seneca once wrote, a person who lives for the crowd's approval never lives for themselves. Reflect on this. How many times have you held back from doing what you truly wanted, simply because you feared being judged? How often have you shrunk yourself just to avoid being rejected? But here's the paradox. You reject yourself before anyone else even gets the chance. What would a Stoic do? They don't ask for approval. They do what's right, say what's needed, live according to reason, and let the results unfold naturally. They understand not everyone will agree, not everyone will like them, and that's not a problem. They ask themselves, what am I afraid of? A glance? A no? Being ignored? And I'm trading away a chance, a conviction, a part of my life. For that, they realize, the fear of rejection is the fear of a fragile ego, an ego that needs praise, agreement, and admiration to survive. But Stoics don't live by ego, they live by virtue, the alignment of reason and action. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius had never written his journal for fear of being misunderstood. If Epictetus had never stood up each morning to teach, despite once being a crippled slave. If Seneca had never written his hundreds of heartfelt letters, despite knowing he might be criticized or even called a hypocrite, we would not have the treasures of wisdom we hold today. So what will you choose? The safe silence of the shadows, where no one can reject you but no one ever sees you either? Or the light of your true self, even if not everyone likes it, but it's real? You don't need anyone's acceptance to begin. Remember, you cannot be rejected if you don't define yourself by being accepted. Number 3, the fear of losing control. What if everything slips out of my hands? There's a quiet truth that keeps many awake at night, though rarely spoken aloud. They fear the world is too chaotic, and they are too small. The fear of losing control is like standing in the middle of a storm, empty-handed, unable to hold on to anything. Have you felt it? A well-laid plan suddenly collapses because someone changes their mind. A person you love walks away without a goodbye. A carefully calculated investment crumbles as the market turns like a vanishing dream. A sudden illness shatters all plans, and you stand there, powerless. The unphilosophical person tries to control what cannot be controlled and neglects what they alone can master. Epictetus. To the Stoic, the fear of losing control is not the real issue. It's the illusion of control that is. We grow up believing that if we try hard enough, plan well enough, predict enough, things will go our way. But the truth is, the world doesn't follow our blueprint. You can control your actions, but not other people's reactions. You can work diligently, but you can't guarantee the outcome. You can love someone wholeheartedly, but can't make them stay. Stoicism doesn't tell you to stop trying. On the contrary, it asks you to do everything you can, within reason and virtue. But then, it teaches you to let go of the rest. Imagine a person rowing a boat. They can choose direction, maintain balance, and row with a steady rhythm. But they can't control the wind, the current, or the weather. The foolish curse the skies, slam their fists on the waves, rage at the storm. The wise adjust their sails, quietly shift their course, and accept what they cannot change. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Love your fate, amor fati." This is not a resignation. It is the peak of inner freedom, when you no longer wrestle with what lies beyond your power, but instead use it as material to shape your character. I once met a father. He was a structural engineer, a man of plans. Then his daughter was diagnosed with autism. All his visions changed. He lost direction for a long time, unable to believe something so vast could happen to his family. But instead of cursing fate, he began learning everything from scratch: how to communicate with his child, how to accept the present, how to find joy in the tiniest progress. He told me a sentence I'll never forget. "I can't change her, but I can change myself to become the father she needs." He no longer controlled the future in the conventional sense, but he mastered himself. And that changed his entire inner world. Stoicism teaches us a timeless rule: the dichotomy of control. Know clearly what is and isn't within your power. You don't need to control the world. You only need to control your response to it. You can't dictate outcomes, but you can live rightly and resiliently, regardless of them. Seneca once wrote, "A happy life does not come from bending everything to your will, but from living in harmony with nature." Nature here doesn't just mean trees or weather, but the ever-changing, imperfect essence of life. The more you tense up trying to control everything, the more you drown in what lies beyond you. But when you realize, "I am responsible only for myself, and that is enough," you become free. So, what will you choose? To keep struggling against life's waves, stubbornly demanding the world follow your rules, only to collapse from disappointment? Or to learn to row in the rain, steady in your grip, clear in your heart, and accepting that the wind is beyond your command? You don't need to control everything to find peace. You only need to control yourself. And that is true strength. Number 4, the fear of being hurt. What if I get hurt again? We are not born afraid to love. A child hugs their mother with all their heart, trusting completely. But over time, through pain, betrayal, and loss, we build walls. Then one day we're unsure what we fear more, being hurt or feeling nothing at all. It's not events that hurt us, but our permission that allows them to. Epictetus. This is one of the hardest truths to accept when you've been deeply wounded. When someone you love turns away, when a loved one leaves forever, when friends betray you, or when life slaps you in the face in the middle of trust. How could it not hurt? But Stoicism does not deny pain. On the contrary, it looks straight at it and asks, why does this hurt so much? Is it because of the loss? Or because we once believed it would last forever? Seneca said, We suffer not because things happen, but because we were unprepared for the fact that they could happen at all. Much of our pain comes not just from the shock, but from the innocent belief that this person would never change, that this happiness would last forever. We suffer because we resist nature's law of change, thinking the most precious things are ours to keep. But what is truly ours? What can never be taken from us? According to Stoicism, the answer is clear. Only ourselves, our mind, our character, our virtues, are fully within our possession. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whatever happens to my body or property cannot touch my soul unless I allow it." In other words, others can harm your body, but they cannot destroy you unless you destroy yourself from within, through bitterness, hatred, blame, and rejection of the lesson. A woman once shared her story, betrayed by her husband after 15 years of marriage. She lost not just a partner, but the image of happiness she once believed in. She cried every night. But instead of staying trapped in the pain, she chose something unusual. She wrote a letter to her ex-husband, not to curse him, but to thank him. She wrote, "Thank you for leaving. It helped me see that I had been living inside an illusion, and now I will begin to live truly, with myself." She didn't deny the pain, but she refused to let it consume her. She allowed it to forge her, not destroy her. Stoicism doesn't tell you to close your heart. It teaches you to love without attachment, to bond without possession, to give without expectation. If you fear being hurt, ask yourself, do I love this person? Or just the feeling of safety when they're around? Am I truly living? Or am I avoiding pain by avoiding feeling? Someone who avoids love out of fear of heartbreak, who avoids trying out of fear of failure, is someone letting fear manage their life. But if you understand, pain is part of living fully, and also the raw material of growth, then you'll no longer run from it. You'll begin to live as Seneca once advised, "No one is stronger than the one who has suffered and risen without losing their dignity." The world doesn't need you to be numb. It needs you to stay open and still stand tall when things fall apart. You may hurt, but you are not defined by your wounds. You may lose, but you don't lose yourself. Pain is not the enemy. Emotional numbness, the shutting down of the heart, that is what should frighten us. And perhaps, if you understand as Marcus once wrote, accept everything that happens as if you had chosen it, and you will see. Pain is also a teacher, a strict one, but one that never betrays you. Final part. Don't let fear hold you back. You've just walked through a journey, not merely of reason, but of confronting yourself, your quietest, most persistent, and most overlooked fears. What did you find? Maybe you realized fear isn't the enemy. It's just a sign that you're alive, that you care, that something matters enough to lose. But fear, if not examined by reason, slowly becomes a chain that stops you from loving, living, daring, and becoming who you're meant to be. Look again at the 4 fears. Fear of failure keeps you in your comfort zone. Fear of judgment forces you to live through others' eyes. Fear of losing control makes you cling to what you can't grasp. And fear of being hurt shuts your heart, not just from pain, but from love. They all share one thing. They stop you from living fully. Stoicism doesn't teach denial. It teaches the harder path, accepting fear's presence, but not letting it rule. If you fear hardship, you've already lost before it begins. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, during long nights of war, once wrote, "You have the power to choose how to respond to life. Everything else is temporary." Ask yourself, if today were my last day, would I want fear to be the last thing I clung to? Or would I choose to live, even if I might fail, love, even if I might be hurt? Step forward, even if the outcome is uncertain. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a cliff. Before him, the vast unknown. Behind him, a life that feels safe and familiar. yet hollow and decaying. He trembles, but in a moment of clarity, he realizes the fear won't disappear, but he can move through it. Not with brute strength, but with awareness. He leaps and discovers he has wings. So do you. You don't have to be someone without fear. You only have to be someone fear cannot command. Just remind yourself each day, I don't control what happens, but I always control how I live, think, and respond. You are stronger than your fear. Live like you believe it. And if you forget, return to Stoicism. It will remind you. Thank you for listening. If you saw yourself in these stories, leave a message, so others know they're not alone. See you again on the quiet but resilient path of a Stoic.